up, y'all? And welcome back to the Life in the D podcast, where porch talk meets real talk and we shine a light on the people really living, building, and growing here in Dallas. Quick mood check. How are we feeling this week? Energy low? A little moody? Are you stressed out? Because a lot of us are stressed out, right? Are you holding weight in places that weren't there before? Because here's the truth. A lot of what we blame on getting older or being super busy is actually hormone related. And we don't talk about that enough. We talk about calories, we talk about going to the gym, routines, we talk about trends, but hormones, they quietly run the whole show. So today we're going to break it down, not in a scary medical way, in a real life Dallas professional, busy human way. And I have got the best guest for it. On the porch today, we have Bea Carroll, registered dietitian, founder of Honey Bee Nutrition, and a huge advocate for sustainable, real-life nutrition. And her motto, treat your body better than a trend. And today we are applying that directly to hormone health. Bea, welcome to the porch. I am so grateful for you joining the podcast today. So yeah, we'll get started and kind of let people know who you are.
Hey y'all, I'm Bea Carroll, registered dietitian and founder of Honey Bee Nutrition, and I'm a mom of two. And I'm allergic to diet culture. So at Honey Bee Nutrition, we really practice a non-diet approach to nutrition for busy people, busy moms who want freedom around food and routines, but without the guilt. So we focus on real habits, the mindset shifts, because it's really in the mind, and practicing wins no matter how small or how big they are. And it's not about the rigid system of this one size fits all plan, because everybody's an individual. You are one person, and I can't give you a cookie cutter plan. So I teach people about their hormones, their stress management, and then how to eat culturally foods, but balance it, because it's about the composition of the plate. But it's not all about what you eat. There's other things that we don't think about, and that's how does food support our energy? How does lack of food maybe help prevent us from sleeping, or our hormones or our mood? So if you're tired of your body, feeling like it's a project for real, come through, because nutrition and boundaries and really setting bold life changes can really help you, your skin, your way of thinking, and your overall relationships with other people for real.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned all those things, because we're going to dive deeper into all of those things, of course. But I noticed, this time of day, it is a thing where, we are into those fasts. It's the 75 hard challenge, or it's this diet, or it's tracking all these calories and macros. And you see all these trends on social media with the meal prep and only do, so that's a good point about how we're watching all these different things and trying to figure out what works for us, but what works for us may not work for the next person. So I'm glad you mentioned that for sure. And I know one of the things we're really going to focus on today too is hormones. So for our listeners that may not really know what hormones are or what they do, you want to kind of break that down a little bit?
Yes, of course. It's really simple if we think about it, something that's relatable. Hormones are basically your body's text message system. We texting all day, right? So your
Yeah.
hormones are literally like texting the body. They're little chemical messengers. If you think about it that way, they tell your organs what to do, when to do it, and how strong to go. So case in point, it affects your energy, your mood, your hunger, your sleep, your periods, your fertility, even when and also too, how your body stores fat. And so hormones play a big role in our lives. So if your hormones are off, you're going to feel it in a magnitude of ways in your life, not just one. Hormones are important.
Yeah, definitely. Just a little personal story. I only heard the word hormones for the first time when it relates to the period. I think I had a cycle that was extended, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then the doctor said that could be the case and gave me some birth control or something. So yeah, I think rare times where something happens and then we hear the word, but it's not necessarily super explained if we don't do, I guess, our additional research about it.
And I hate that birth control is the answer when it could also too be estrogen dominance, and maybe it's diet related, honestly.
Yeah. And the other time too, most recently, acne. I had some breakouts, and some people said, that could be related to the hormones as well. And I also didn't know that when you go and get your standard physical, they don't always test hormones. Is that something additional you have to ask for?
Yeah, and I will say this, just working with the magnitude of people that I work with, I always say it is your patient right to ask for a full panel,
Mm.
to get it checked, and not leave it on, this is my annual checkup, and they're just gonna check my comprehensive metabolic panel or they're gonna check my comprehensive blood panel. Actually ask for your hormones to be checked. It's your patient, right? It is your body. And I always want to say this is advocate for yourself. You get some doctors, and I love all of my people in the healthcare industry and our professionals, but do not allow a doctor to tell you, oh, let's just wait for 2 years from now, 3 years from now for your hormones to get checked, because it's just that 1 year that something can be off. And we could have prevented it from happening because we would have caught it earlier. Always advocate for yourself and always know your numbers.
Okay. Are all hormones created equal, or is there specific hormones that we need to ask for or check about?
Just a hormonal panel.
Okay.
Yep.
And in your
Comprehensive.
experience, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, just a comprehensive panel.
Cool. Gotcha. Okay. And then in your experience, how does living in an urban environment impact your hormone health?
Now, that is a really good question. Urban life is loud on your
Yeah.
nervous system. It's loud. You got traffic,
Yeah.
you got noise, you got the long commutes, you got safety concerns, you got the fast food place on every corner, and you have less green space. So, what does that really mean when it comes to your hormones? Like, B, how does that make sense for real? It keeps your body in this fight or flight mode. It
Mm,
raises your stress hormones like cortisol. So that's another hormone by itself. Cause like even right now, when you mention hormones, you're thinking about our hormones as a woman and our reproductive system. But we also too have stress hormones. Cortisol can mess up your sleep. It can make it harder for your blood sugar to be steady. So now we have unbalanced blood sugar levels. And so it's not that our body's broken. Sometimes it is just our environment is doing a lot. We're overly stressed. And an environment can be work. An
yeah.
environment can be home. An environment can be where are you most of the day that causes you to have high cortisol levels, which is a hormone.
Yeah. So overall, we would say that these environments sometimes, because there's so much going on in these environments, they have a higher impact on our hormones than if we lived like maybe on a farm or something a little more rural.
No, not the case. I'll say this, just working with me as a dietitian, a lot of people assume that Imma give them a meal plan and that's it. I actually ask really in-depth questions. What is a day in the life of you? What does each day look like for you? What are your stress levels? Is this a seasonal period of stress? Like I have some people at the end of the year stress is higher, beginning of the year it's not. But their cortisol levels would be higher and they're more likely to not gain weight or gain weight because of that. What do you do for stress management? How do you recenter yourself? What is your sleeping routine? So it's not the fact that we need to like have solitude, but what are our day to day practices? What is our mental space like?
Okay, so our lifestyles definitely. So how in the long term does our lifestyle impact our hormones?
In a magnitude of ways, just in a magnitude. Creating balance is important. I'll say that. And knowing in today's world, especially being in the United States of America, it is the culture of multitasking. And I get a lot of people, I didn't eat breakfast. I'm like, why not? Oh, because I'm intermittent fasting. And I'm like, that's an excuse. Oh, I worked through lunch. I had to finish this. And I'm like, but how do you drive a car without fuel? So how are you operating your body without the fuel and the necessities that it needs so that you're not hangry, so that you don't have brain fog, so that you're not reading that same question over and over again, so that you can actually be productive and you're not running on fumes.
Definitely. And you kind of mentioned earlier as far as like fast food and stuff. A lot of us, schedules are busy, so we're running to the next fast food place, just trying to eat and drive to the next event we have to go to. And then
Mhm.
some of us also live in areas where there's food deserts and limited access to different foods and stuff like that. Can you kind of speak to that?
Of course, where there's no grocery stores nearby or prices are wild, people are relying on what's close, the corner store, fast food place, all these chicken restaurants.
Yeah.
I'm be honest, vending machines. And so that usually means more refined carbohydrates, more ultrally processed foods, more sugary drinks, and foods that are lower in fiber. So that combination makes your insulin just work harder to keep your blood clean from all the sugar. And so when you're constantly stressed about money, time, your cortisol levels are always high, it just puts extra pressure on your body, so it's a recipe for fatigue. It's a recipe for cravings and the food noise, and now we're in snack culture. "Oh, I just be snacking all day."
Yeah.
I I hear this all the time, and then it's like, so 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's a higher risk for diabetes.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I have a couple of coworkers that are diabetic and talk a little bit about insulin. For some folks who may be unfamiliar with it, don't really know what insulin, you would talk a little bit about what insulin is and what happens there?
Of course, and if to put us in the know so that we do not know, insulin is a very important hormone in the body as well. And so, but because a lot of us live in the culture of go, go, and go, we're skipping meals. And so
Yeah,
we're grabbing whatever is fast and what's cheap, mind you, because now our hunger cue, we're ravenous, we're hangry, we're really hungry, so we can't make conscious decisions. We're just trying to eat. Okay, what's nearby? And bam,
yeah,
we got that fast food place right there. So it creates this space of a big blood sugar spike in the body. So all day, insulin is just running. Just keep your blood clean. It's just running. But over time, is running out of steam. And so insulin becomes less responsive. So now we still have the same habit of grabbing these sugary things, these processed, these high refined carbs, but insulin isn't working as hard anymore. So now we're at the risk of pre-diabetes. And then in year to year, the number keeps creeping, and now we're diabetic. And so we see this hitting us hard in the Black urban communities at such a higher rate, and it's not because we're bad or we're lazy, it's because our systems are broken and we don't have real access to food. And then to just keep it real, we're not taking the time to prep. We're scheduling everything else in our lives. We're scheduling our hair appointments. We're scheduling like the appointments for this, and we're scheduling everything we need for our job, but we're not scheduling what we need for ourselves. And that is taking the time out, going to the grocery store, and preparing what we need that week for accessibility to food. Because when food is accessible to us in the home, you can grab a snack, you can grab this food, and you don't have to like run OE, then we can actually avoid the fast food. So that's the other thing too, is really taking accountability and scheduling for you, the person. Maybe going grocery shopping on Friday, prepping on Saturday, cooking on Sunday. Taking that time out for you, refilling your tank. Yeah.
and with the blood sugar, because I think, well, I know for me personally, I guess I speak for myself, is like, I just something I often don't think that much about. I'm like, I don't know how to measure it. I don't know if it's like, I have no idea about what to, how to pay attention to it, basically.
Yeah. I'll say this. So I'll get a lot of people, and it's cute when people say, "So, be like, what's the magic thing to do, man? Like, what's the one thing I need to do?" And if I could really answer that question without the complexities of food is not black and white, is actually very gray. If we focused on balancing a plate, that is understanding that we need fiber at every meal. There's a difference of like fibrous vegetables and fibrous carbs versus starchy vegetables and starchy carbs, and half our plate should have fiber on it.
Hmm.
And this is the culture of high protein and carbohydrates.
Yeah, yeah. So for my friends that do have those monitors, they're diabetic and they're tracking insulin and stuff like that. I know sometimes they do say things like, "Oh, my blood sugar is spiking or is crashing." What does that really mean? What is happening for them?
If we think about it like this, well, you said spiking or crashing, which one? I
Oh, I
get
guess I
both.
guess what happens in both situations is
Yeah,
that they
two
pass
different
out
things.
or what's gonna happen that we need to. I know some of them keep sweets or something in their pocket, but like I don't
Mhm.
know.
So, in simplest terms, to help people really understand, if we compared eating a cracker to a piece of chicken, it would take a lot longer for you to chew the chicken than a cracker. How do I make that make sense, right? Well, when we eat the cracker, it doesn't take a lot for that to digest or break down in the system, so it spikes in the body a lot faster. So it's a spike of digestion. But when we pair that cracker with a protein source and a fat source, the complexities of fat and protein actually decrease the rate of digestion of the carb, and it becomes sustainable energy. So if we think about food of how we have electricity, when we pick an electricity company, we're trying to think about how can I get my bang for my buck?
Mhm.
So how can I maximize carbohydrates to turn into sustainable energy? Not that I'm going to eat the carb, the candy that's going to spike my blood sugars for 15 minutes and then I crash. Now my blood sugars have crashed. I don't have sustainable energy like a mix of protein and fats. How do I turn a carb into just sustainable? Just energy that could last me not 15, 20 minutes, but 30 minutes, an hour to 2 hours. And that's how we eliminate the food noise. So for the people who say, oh man, my blood sugar just crashed, I say, you eat that carb, that sugar, the candy, that gives you 15 minutes to have a balanced meal. That should not be your saving grace. That should be an alert system. So we should be using things as tools, and a lot of people are misinformed. We have the wrong systems in place.
That's a great
And
way
it
to break.
and it causes chronic stress too on the body. So when the body is constantly spiking with high blood sugar, it causes your body to have fight or flight responses.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that because that's where we're going to transition into the chronic stress because we know these are stressful times. We are dealing with a lot, juggling children, financial stress, there's a lot of stress in these workplaces and other family responsibilities, deaths and family. So we are dealing with a lot of stress right now. So trying to balance the hormones when you're dealing with so much, it can be kind of quite difficult.
Say this, so, like, stress shows up in many different ways, right?
Mm.
And so when your brain senses danger or whether it's a threat or it's constant pressure of a bill, work, or traffic, it releases a hormone, cortisol or adrenaline. In the short term, it's helpful, right? Because it helps us be alert, right? But if it keeps happening day to day, it's gonna cause high cortisol in the body, and that's a result and that ends up adding more fat to the belly, the abdominal area. So we call that stress bellies, which is so crazy because I get a
Yeah.
lot of people be like, "B, like I can't get rid of this," and I'm like, "How much stress you got?" And they look at me like, "Why are you talking to me about stress?"
Yeah.
Because cortisol.
I doesn't matter. Think about, sometimes the guys have what we call a little beer belly. That's the word that came to mind.
Girl. Now for our men too, because I always wanna make sure that we do think about our men as well. So with men that have those bigger bellies, it actually increases their risk of cardiovascular disease. So I get, people to be like, "Oh, yeah, girl, I love my man with a little of that grown man fat," and I be like, "It's just, cardio risk of cardiovascular disease." And it's really the culture of just normalizing things that should be abnormal. So high cortisol on a constant, increase of belly fat, we call that stress belly. It messes up your sleep. It impacts your cycle. And so over time, we're working in a deficit and we're causing our body to constantly be going through fight or flight. So your body's trying to protect you, but if we can't manage it, we start feeling burnt out. We start feeling like we can't really take a lot of things. And that's why I really love to check in with like mental health when it comes to my patients. Cause I always say that being hangry is a slight mental illness that's cured by a carbohydrate and followed up with a balanced meal.
Okay. Say that to somebody and they're gonna be like, "Mental illness." But
You
that is
hangry,
great.
right? Yeah. And
That
I'll
is
say now because I'll ask people, I'll say, you know what, like, and this is what I ask people in sessions. I say, what are your self-care, rituals? Man, I don't know what that is. And I'll ask them, have you been diagnosed with depression or anxiety? And they're like, yes. And then by the time I've already done an analysis, I'm like, you're just hungry. You're not depressed and you don't have anxiety, you're hungry. You have
yeah,
an imbalanced eating structure because you're eating foods that are high in concentrated carbohydrates and you don't have sustainable energy. You're going from high blood sugar spikes to lows. And so when I teach people how to balance a plate, the one thing I say is like, man, B, the food noise is gone. I have more energy. I wasn't hungry. And a lot of people's like, you want me to eat 3 times a day? I do. Just sustainable energy.
yeah. I recently saw an maybe it's probably another little TikTok thing. Sorry, a TikTok thing. But they were talking about how the 3 times a day is like a myth, and we were trained to do this because of I don't know, food sales and da 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 da. So 3 times a day though is that's the we should definitely do that. We shouldn't listen to the things that we see on TikTok in regards to that.
Very honest with you, like, can you really drive your car, like, 500 miles without putting gas in it? We need fuel. Food is fuel for the body. And food is protein, food is fat, food is carbs, food is vitamins, food is minerals, and every organ needs a different element of nutrition, right? And so we're in a culture of these uninformed but overly informed influencers that are just teaching the masses, and I get people that are so confused.
Mhm.
Just confused. Man, B, I heard this and I heard that and I heard this. And usually before I get into their sessions, I have to, like, calm the noise in their head
Mhm.
so that we can actually just get on track to the basics. And it's, like, really listening to the body because your 3 times a day may be different than mine. My hunger cue may not start until, like, an hour and 30 minutes, and that's listening to the body and understanding what is a hunger cue. And then also too understanding that it's not normal to snack all day. It's not normal to think about food all day, and that has a lot to do with just improper balance and high blood sugar, levels. So, food is not black and white. It is very much so gray. It's a science. It's a science, not and I chuckle, especially when I get, like, my older people, and I'll be like, "You know, I'm really just teaching you how to eat for real. You've been in that body for 55 years, but you've never known how to eat for real." And
Yeah.
they just laugh, and I say and I mean that out of love, and I wish that our education systems taught proper nutrition in the healthcare industry, especially in the epidemic of, like, our children being overweight and having such a high influx of carb-rich processed foods and refined carbs in their diets. We're in an epidemic right now.
Yeah, because we definitely too are seeing a lot more younger kids getting diagnosed with some of these things, whereas we didn't see before, or some younger folks having heart attacks and strokes earlier and things like that too. Yeah.
And they're little hormones right now, when we think about hormones and how, like, our younger girls are starting their menstrual cycles a lot earlier now,
Mhm.
and so, like, if we focused on the signs that the body's communicating, you know, and so it's like and this is stuff I say in my sessions, y'all. I really try to keep it as real as possible because who wants to talk about food for real? Like, who wants to talk about it? So I try to keep food as real as possible. And so when we don't listen to the body, we don't understand our hunger cues, we don't understand when we're crashing. It's almost like dating somebody and they're always nagging you and you learn how to ignore them. You just
Yeah.
igno you just ignore them. So they be talking and you be like, "Uh-huh, okay." And then
Yeah.
once you start working on it and you be like, "You know what? You was making sense. Why wasn't I listening a long time ago?" The same thing with your body. We have toxic relationships with our bodies. We just ignore the cues. We just ignore them and we normalize things that are abnormal, not eating for 10 hours out of the day. Imma be honest, I'm an RD. I went to school for 6, 7 some years to study food. I love food, and a lot of my friends call me snacks. I don't walk out the house without snacks. I'm always eating. Yeah. I can't
Yeah.
lie I can't lie to you, like, my daughters have snacks, so as an RD, they have, like, balanced snacks. They don't eat just vegetables all the time, they have a balance of things, so it doesn't mean that eating a balanced life is restrictive. Because I don't even believe in the word healthy. I don't believe in the word good food or bad food, I believe in balance and composition of the plate.
Makes sense. Okay.
I live a balanced life around food.
Yeah. And you kinda got into the next couple questions because that's what I was gonna ask about, some signs that somebody might be out of balance and talk a little bit about calorie counting and stuff like that. So I guess right into that. How you feel about calorie counting?
I think calorie counting can really mess up your relationship to food. You become
Mhm.
obsessive and you
Yeah.
really don't eat food for real. I don't think it's sustainable because there's a lot of stress around, "Oh my god, how many calories is this whole let me weigh my food." It's not normal. It's abnormal. But if we just listen to the body, like, what is the body saying? Do I feel fatigue? Do I have mood swings? Counting calories doesn't make sense. I've never counted a calorie, and mind you, I can actually count calories based off of me understanding the nutrient composition, like, I can look at a plate and be like, "That's a piece of bread, so that's 15 grams," and I can count calories just from my head, but I don't even utilize that skill for real. I utilize balance on the plate, listening to my body, not over another one is not overeating.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning as of late. Yeah, it turns out seems like many of us have been overeating all our lives, right? These portion sizes are out of control, huh?
There's that, what is that? I love it. I love it when people be like, "B, I graduated." And I'm like, "Where'd you graduate from?" They clear your food club. And I'll be like, "Man, congratulations." So that's another environment. We call those conditional environments where in that time frame, just to honor our family back in the day, there
Mhm,
could have been a bit of scarcity, right? Where it's like, don't waste my food,
mhm.
eat that. But what happened is we taught children how to avoid or ignore their satisfaction cues and they kept eating because of scarcity. So like with my daughters now, this is This actually really happened. I have a 5-year-old and, we were eating and stuff, and I'm wondering like, "Girl, why are you so full?" And I'm just observing her. And I'm like, "Why are you eating all the food on your plate?" And she's complaining, "Mommy, I'm so full, mommy." And I'm sitting her like, "What is wrong? Like, why is she being so gluttonous?" And this was happening for about a month, but I didn't understand. And I just said, "Serenity, why are you eating all your food?" And she said, "Mommy, because when I was at my cousin's house, she told me to eat all the food on my plate." And I
Mhm.
said, "No, ma'am. Your mom is a registered dietitian. I don't believe in that. When you feel like your tummy is done, you stop. We could put that in the microwave and you can eat it later. But there is no need for you to feel like you have to finish all that food because you are not a storage unit. You are a human being, and food, no matter what the relationship to food is, it could be, we're going to celebrate and have food. I'm going to be stressed and I'm going to have a donut.
Yeah.
Or culturally, we all have dinner together. No matter what the relationship to food is, the major function of food is simply fuel. We get the benefit that it tastes good. We get the benefit that we can be in a community. We get the benefit that we have so much access to food, but the major function is fuel for the body. We should use food as such. And so I always tell people, do not stretch the balloon. Don't overeat. Like if I pinched you and you're like, ouch, you should not feel full. You should feel satisfied to where my hunger cue is gone. You should feel light. You should give your body just enough what it needs so the digestive system starts and it processes the food as nutrients for the body. And then the blood delivers the nutrients to the cells, to the organ, to the brain, to the liver, to any part of the body that needs that one major nutrient. It could be a vitamin, a mineral, it could be protein, fats, or whatever. The blood would transport it. And if we think about the body in a system of food gives me energy so that I can exist, food gives me energy so that I can think straight, food gives me energy so that I can show up and be productive. Food gives me energy so that I can maximize vitality and actually be a good steward of the temple of my body. We will stop actually abusing food.
Yeah, I agree. And this kind of brings us also into we talked about the cultural thing. Yes, we grew up in households where it's like, eat this food or you're not getting up from the table before you eat this food. But also, too, some of the foods that we cook sometimes, some of us come from Southern households, me, where they're cooking all that, the greens and the dressing and those things that, have a lot of different things in them that probably is not so good for us. So how should we better, I guess, enjoy some of these foods and also not, impact our hormones too much?
Well, I'll say this, like when it comes to what we eat and how we're eating it is not the fact that we can't have the food. So I'm a
Mhm.
dietitian, I do a non-restrictive approach. And so I work with people that are Middle Eastern from like Arabic, Haitians, Persians, Caribbean, Jamaican, Koreans. I work with a lot of different cultures. So one thing that's important to me is I don't take the culture away. So I'm not here to demonize culture because I'll put it like this, a lot of staples, no matter what the culture is really carb based. And so it's not that I want you to give up the rice or the tortilla or the plantain or the tempeh or anything, the cornbread, the soul food. It's a matter of like, how do we tweak it? How do we tweak it so it supports the body and supports the hormones? And so, how do I add more fibrous vegetables and fruits in the body alongside the cultural staples? So, I always tell my people before you put it in your mouth, take an assessment and say, is this balanced? What can I do to balance the plate?
Yeah.
Not, I can't have that. You can. What are you adding to the plate? What are you adding? So, do I have enough protein? Do I have a good source of fat? Do I have my carb? And then also too, like, am I eating in the way to where I don't spike the blood sugar? And so it's also too called the order of eating. So we gotta have the veggies there, but we want to start off with our veggies, our proteins, and then our carbs. And a lot of people start off with their mashed potatoes and their rice. We should actually end with that. And
Mhm.
so I'm the perfect bite type of a person, so I'm gonna, like, fork my veggies first and then fork my protein, and Imma, like, scrape the carb, and then I'm like, "Oh my god, what a good curated menu." I I get some people that they're like, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna eat that first and that first and that first. Okay,
Mhm.
great. And I love my A-type personality people now. They're the ones that really hacked, like, the order of eating. They're like, veggie, protein, carb." And I'd be like, "Y'all are on to something." Veggie, protein, carb. I'd be like, "That's the hack for real." But it's everyone's different.
Yeah. That also makes me think of the people who eat all the fries before the burger. Like, if you go get a little combo meal,
Yeah,
are you
we've
eating all
already
your
done the
veggies or are you
damage.
trying to eat them both together?
No, you already did the damage. What I would do, I would bite the burger first.
Yeah.
I would get that protein, and if it's some lettuce and tomatoes, I want that in the body first.
Yeah.
So that I can have a layer of complex nutrients that's gonna slow down the digestion of the it's crazy. It's complex because it's so great, but it's really so simple.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that working together, we practice the 80-20 eating philosophy because your culture is important. You've been able to honor your body and maybe have a bag of chips, right?
Mhm.
It's not that you can't have it, but we wanna have a foundation of 80% of fundamental nutritional things that are our bylaws to our bodies, and that is, I'm gonna make sure that I have a fiber on the plate. It could be a grain, it could be a fibrous fruit, it could be a fibrous vegetable, or I'm gonna have like a combination of maybe a yogurt with some seeds, like some hemp seeds or some chia seeds, or a granola where I can add that fiber there. Or I may have a boiled egg with this. How do I use food and to just compose a plate? And food gets really fun when you think about all the different ways that you could set up a plate. Because composition, like I'll say people like, oh, I gotta eat healthy. I gotta eat chicken, rice, and broccoli. No, you don't. You can have a meatloaf. You can have a stir fry. You can have a burrito. It's all about what is the composition inside and how does your body digest it and break it down.
Yeah, yeah. This is really good. So it's kinda taken my mind of, like, so I have the little Fit Pal thing of how you're tracking the so instead of thinking about the science of tracking the calorie, adding up those numbers, like, say, thinking more about the actual nutrient side versus the counting number. Okay, so
That
this is
is
really good.
true.
And so for those of us too, we were talking about, making sure we have all these things if we're going to the grocery store. How can we manage trips to the grocery store to try to figure out getting all the right things and also kind of maybe do it maybe a little more budget friendly.
I would say knowing your budget is super important. Either you're gonna cook fresh fruits and veggies or you're gonna cook frozen. So depending
Hmm.
upon your budget, you may have more frozen than fresh. Um, But I would say, like, actually sitting down and saying, "Okay, what are the 2 proteins Imma have for the week?" Maybe Imma have chicken and Imma have a salmon, right?
Hmm.
That's gonna be the first thing. The other one's, like I said, what's my carb? My carb could be pasta or a lentil pasta, it could be rice, it could be barley, it could be a mixed grain, it could be a sweet potato or a potato. I know my carb. And then what are my veggies and my fruits? So my veggies could be Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, kale. Our fruits could be berries, but do I have all the necessities on the grocery list really?
Okay.
That's really the big thing is like, do I have the pieces of the puzzle so that I can create?
So
That's that.
shopping more for categories. So if I got a shopping list, I'm gonna have my protein, carb, and just kind of divide it out that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. And then knowing yourself, um, am I too busy to cook breakfast? So do I need to assemble a meal versus cook a meal? So you can
Hmm.
assemble a breakfast and not cook it, and it can still be sustainable. So I would say, case in point, I get a lot of people that do like a yogurt, and they may find their favorite granola, and they may have their rich berries and stuff, and put some cinnamon in there. I may get my overnight girlies and do the
Yes. Oof.
overnights. But
Yes.
then we gotta think about the still a starch, so, like, what do we do to add the fiber? So they're gonna add in, like, half a tablespoon of flaxseed and half a tablespoon of chia seed, and they're gonna add in some nuts and then have the fibrous fruits, so then bam, that's complete. I may have my cottage cheese culture, so they're gonna have their cottage cheese with maybe some fruit or a fresh veggie there, or I may have, like, my egg girlies that probably do their stir fry the day before,
Mhm.
you know, and so it's a matter of also too knowing your schedule, like, what is the barrier to eating? So why am I not eating breakfast? Then why am I skipping lunch? Or do I have access to a microwave at work? Do I need to assemble a salad? Do I need to assemble a pinwheel? Do I need to assemble something that I don't need a microwave with? Am I too busy or too tired when I get home? So do I need to prep the food and marinate the food before and then lay it out on a sheet pan and pop it in the oven? So it's
Mhm.
really knowing your schedule and knowing how could I intervene or make it possible 'Cause you don't have to stand at the stove all day. You
Yeah.
don't. You can assemble, you can cook, you can pre-prep marinate, or you can even batch cook and freeze food too.
Mhm.
It's a lot of different ways around this. We don't have to starve, for
Yeah.
real.
Definitely. And then, like, final question, if somebody's listening today and they are getting ready to start this journey or be more, intentional with their diet, what is, like, the first simple step that they can take to start, having more of a balanced hormones and balanced diet?
That is a very broad
Oh,
statement. Cause
sorry.
no, I'm actually gonna answer because it's different for everybody. Starting looks different for every single person. Starting could be, I'm gonna commit to having a protein shake for breakfast so that I don't skip it, because I don't feel hungry in the morning, but I need to wake up my hunger cue. It may start off like that, having a protein shake in the morning, so I don't skip it, so I can put fuel in the tank. It may start off with, you know what? I'm gonna commit to not having dessert at the end of before I go to bed. It may be that I need to drink more water because I only drink 12 ounces of water a day. It actually is very different for a lot of people. It's really different. And so I would say, if anything, like, if we can commit to 64 ounces of water, water could be a tea. You could, like, enhance it with, like, fruit, anything that's not caffeinated or really high in sugar. So I would say baseline 64 ounces of water, baseline, no lower than that. And if you can commit to just 3 meals a day and have something that is alive on the plate. We are alive human beings. We need food that is alive to feed the cells. And if we think about it that way, is this processed? Was this in a box or is this alive? Is this really feeding me?
Yeah, that's some really, really good advice, and you have dropped so many gems. Sometimes I do, like, key takeaways, but I think you have already gave us so many really great takeaways. So I think another thing that I like to do, since it's kinda like a Dallas-based podcast, is kinda ask you a couple of fun Dallas questions. So, like, if you have friends or family in town, what's a restaurant that you like to take them to here in Dallas?
I would say it's a magnitude of places, but one place I really love is, like, Eddie V's in Dallas, and then, I love a good Eat C's in Dallas. Those are just kinda, like, easy, simple, the vibe, the music, and they're, like, culturally, like, rooted in Dallas versus, like, all the new places. So
Yeah,
Eat in Dallas off of Oaklawn, and then Eddie V's, I think that's off of Oaklawn too, but it's
those
in
are
Dallas.
great
Yeah.
options. What's your favorite meal?
So I don't have a favorite meal.
Okay.
My taste buds are seasonal. So I eat seasonally, and whatever that season is, I'm with it. You know, like, I love food. I can't lie to you. I'm a foodie. I get the benefit of understanding the science of food, but I be like, if I wasn't an RD, I may have some weight problems for real.
Me too. I would, yes. Me too. I feel that.
So I can't lie to you, girl. Like, I love what I do. Um, but food holds such a place in our lives. And I know that you were talking about, like, just a few tips, but I will say this. How can we start to listen to the body? Maybe one of the questions that people can relate to, so we can stop ignoring the signs. And so how could we start is listening to the body? So, like, what are the red flags that your body's communicating? Extreme fatigue. When you wake up, do you feel rested? If you don't feel rested, there's an imbalance. That's one. Do you have really big mood swings, or do you feel like you're on edge all the time? There's an imbalance. Do you have intense sugar cravings? Are you always eating something sweet? There's an imbalance. We need to look into that. Do you have unexplained weight changes, especially around the midsection? There's an imbalance. Do you have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep? There's an imbalance. So it could be one or two things. And so if we can actually, like, check in with self and stop normalizing these things. I get a lot of people like, no, I'm just been so used to just always being tired. If we could stop normalizing and really check in with self.
That is some great, great tips. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, because I
It's
know a lot of people who do not sleep well or always tired. It's a lot of us out here walking like around zombies basically, and don't know where it came from. Oh, I'm just a little stressed, or oh, I'm just a, like you said, normalize it. It's just a thing that they're so used to.
And I'll
Yeah,
say this, like, not being able to go to sleep sometimes could be a magnesium problem. We're not getting enough magnesium in the body because you find magnesium in, like, fruits and veggies, and we're not
yeah.
having that on the plate. So we're missing out on a lot of vital things. Like, let's go ahead and take this one term, eat the rainbow. You heard that as a kid. What does that really mean and why is that so vital? The color pigmentation of like our fruits and veggies that are red, purple, orange, yellow, green, or even brown. The pigmentation is the vitamins and the minerals. So,
Mm.
no, B, but I take a multivitamin every day. No, we getting that from whole foods, and supplementation is simply to bridge the gap of what we cannot get through food orally. So
Mm.
we have improper systems in place.
Yeah, that is excellent, B. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. And thank you for all of the knowledge and wisdom. Like, I sometimes feel a little like, oh my gosh, I know this is like a service you provide. So I don't want to take from, or like, but you've given us so much today. So I am very thankful for you joining and dropping all of this knowledge for all of our listeners to have.
Yay. I'll put it like this. I do this for a living, but it's going to take just one step at a time. So, anybody that's out here and that's listening, if anything resonated with you, just pick one thing that you can do. This is not that you're going to do this cold turkey. It does not, and it's not pretty and it's not perfect. It's not. Trying to have a balanced life around nutrition takes about a good 6 months of practicing, going through life, failing, giving up and understanding that, oh, well, okay, I know how my body feels. But if we just find one thing that we can do, maybe let's drink more water. Maybe let's commit to the 3 meals. Maybe let's not have that extra snack. Maybe it's actually not overeat. Maybe just eat just enough. Maybe it's chew your food. Maybe it's the order of eating. But if we just practice that one thing and make that a habit, you could build another habit off of it. So Rome was not built overnight, people. We go for progress and not perfection. Progress and not perfection. That is the practice of habit. Just build the habit and stack from there. And give yourself grace, people. Give yourself grace.
Definitely. All right, let's land this. 3 reminders from today that hormones run more than you think, stress management is hormone care, and balanced blood sugar is foundational. You don't need a cleanse, you don't need a detox, you need consistency. Small daily shifts matter. And if this episode made you rethink your energy, your stress, and your weight journey, share it. Send it in your group chat, send it to your sister, send it to yourself for later, and subscribe on YouTube, and you can also follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to listen or stay tuned for more podcasts. And I will see you guys next week.